Alright, I am back with another video, and today we are doing the next in my deity build lineup. We are doing Moradin. Now, with Moradin, you're kind of looking at a god of the forge. He seems to be, at least to me, someone who the dwarves worship as like a god of creation. Not the god of creation, like he didn't create everything, but if dwarves are making something, whether they are blacksmithing or artificing or what have you, they are most likely followers of Moradin in some way, at least for the most part, or at least pay respect to him or acknowledge him. So basically any kind of person who is like any sort of dwarf, rather, that is kind of like a, you know, your typical like hammer forging kind of dwarf, like your typical stereotypical dwarf character in fantasy, they are probably a worshipper of Moradin. And of course, you'd probably think that, well, if we're building a chosen Moradin, they would probably be a blacksmith or an artificer or something. And if we're playing regular D&D, you would be right. But in Baldur's Gate 3, we don't have artificer, and we also don't really have a way of, like, blacksmithing. I mean, we could go for transmutation wizard, but alchemy is not the same as blacksmithing. So, as I was doing my research, I came across a little part on the Forgotten Realms wiki about the actual followers of Moradin. The Hammers of Moradin. Basically, these warrior paladins or clerics who basically go into battle for warhammers drawn and are basically like your dwarven fighters. Again, a bit more stereotypical in a fantasy setting. Something you'd expect to see out of like Lord of the Rings. However, there were a few key features of these fighters that made them stand out. That the Forgotten Realms wiki mentioned. Number one, they are very, very stalwart and are not easily moved, meaning they are really good frontline fighters. Number one. Number two, they are specifically so skilled at with their warhammers, they can throw it and have it return to them. I'm pretty sure you already know where I'm going with this. And thirdly, they have the ability to, and unfortunately we can't exactly replicate this in Baldur's Gate 3, but we can get close. They have the ability to kind of like tunnel through the earth, or at least like teleport through the earth. It's kind of weird, but what I'm seeing basically is the Hammer of Moradin fighting style is as follows. A frontline fighter that can teleport and can use throwing weapons. Well, there is a class that is going to allow us to do all of these things really, really well. Now, I will say a couple of things before we get started here, just because I kind of went through a few stages with this build, but I wasn't too sure exactly what to build. I initially built a Paladin Barbarian mix, going for the Berserker Barbarian, to be able to throw as a bonus action and get that little bit of extra damage. But then I kind of really decided that I actually really wanted to wear heavy armor with this build, and while I could still rage and get that extra bonus action throw, we'd be missing out on a lot of things, and also kind of stunt our paladin features by doing so, and we wouldn't be able to cast spells while raging still without really getting a lot of the benefits, so it didn't really feel right to me. However, there is going to be a paladin subclass here, which you can see on the left of the screen there, that is going to kind of supplement that mostly for us. So I've decided to mainly build a straight paladin today with the obvious dip into cleric, which we'll get into in a minute, and you can kind of interchange the cleric and paladin levels however way you want, although you will need to adjust some stats to do so. So fair warning, this is mainly going to be a straight paladin build. However, the way that we kind of fight and use this build is definitely different than your standard paladin, so let's get into it. Obviously, as I said, we are going to be a paladin. This is going to give us a couple of things, our main class features being Lay on Hands and Divine Sense. You guys already know about these. And we also get our Channel Oath. With the Oath of Vengeance, which is what we're going to be going with here, and this is important, although maybe Oath of Devotion may be more thematically correct, I feel like Oath of Vengeance is going to do us well here. This is going to get us Inquisitor's Might, allowing our weapon attacks to deal an additional 2 radiant damage, and can daze enemies. This works with thrown weapons. We're also going to get our Tenants, meaning to basically just, if you see evil, kill it. Which is actually very on theme for the Hammers of Moradin, because they specifically went out of their way to kill the kind of evil denizens of the Underdark and those who they saw as enemies of the dwarves. So while they're definitely like going for vengeance, maybe it's not 100% morally correct, and there's a little bit of turbulence there. But basically these dudes would kill pretty much any drow or even Dwergar or anything that they would see. So, you know, pretty good. I think this works out well. As for our stats, yes, a little bit strange, but hear me out. Strength at 17, we are going to be bumping up this up with a half feat later. You already know the one. Dexterity at 12, we don't need a lot of it because this is a heavy armor build. Constitution at 14, a solid number for the whole game, but we are actually going to be bumping this up as well. Intelligence we don't need. Wisdom I want a little bit of, just because we are taking a couple of dips into Cleric, although we're not really going to be using any attacking spells from that. I still wanted some Wisdom. And Charisma at 14 for our Paladin features. As for our proficiencies, you absolutely want Athletics. Again, this is a throwing build, and this is going to help with that. And I've gone full Religion, even though we're not really that smart, because I do actually want to have the ability to be at least decent at religion, because that's kind of the whole point. And because I've gone with, and I've kind of have built this character to be a blacksmith in, like, you know, their backstory. So I've gone with the guild artisan background, so maybe you're like a blacksmith for a guild, meaning that we're going to get insight and persuasion, which I think works pretty well for this. So let's keep going. So I'm going to quickly showcase our multi-class dip now, but you can take it whenever you want. We're going to be grabbing a Cleric dip. Now, you have a couple of options here, but let's get into the cantrips first. Since we're not really going to be using our Wisdom for casting, I am just going to be grabbing our standard cantrips, with the exception being Blade Ward. Because one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to go Barbarian with this build initially was for the resistances, but then I decided to switch to Heavy Armor. We could still get those kind of Barbarian resistances with this cantrip if we so desire, and it kind of fits in with that, the fact that the Moradin hammers are kind of resistant to physical damage and are hard to move, so Blade Ward kind of works with this, but if you don't feel like it's necessary, stick with resistance, but I'm going to go with it just to shake it up. But I also am going to grab Guidance and Thaumaturgy for conversation-based checks. Now, as for your domain, well, Moradin's domain is knowledge. He is like the god of creation and the god of inspiration for these creations, so he has a wide array of knowledge on blacksmithing techniques, engineering techniques, artificing techniques. He is the guy who is just, if there's something that needs to be made, even if it doesn't exist yet, he will figure out a way. So his domain is knowledge. If you wanted to stay the most on theme you could possibly be, you would go with knowledge. Which is what I am personally going to be doing for this video, because I want to be as lore accurate as possible. However, if you do not care about that, then absolutely take the war domain for those extra bonus action attacks, because they would fit this build perfectly. So my personal recommendation, if you want to get the most out of this build, is pretty much build a straight Paladin to level 10 or 11, preference, and then take 1 or 2 levels based on preference of War Domain for the most powerful build possible, but in order to be lore accurate, I want to grab Knowledge Domain. Obviously, our deity is going to be Moradin. I hate that these aren't in alphabetical order, that bugs me a lot. The Allhammer is a dwarven god worshipped by smiths, artisans, and miners alike. He and Lordiger are constantly at odds, and I'll do Lordiger soon, but I don't know yet. And because we're a knowledge cleric, we are going to be able to get expertise in a couple of things, and I want to grab history and religion, so that, you know, we have historical knowledge on, like, smithing techniques, and religion because we worship a fucking god, it makes sense. We also are going to be able to, since we kind of only have a 10 in wisdom, we're only going to be able to equip one spell, and the only one I really want is Sanctuary. I mean, as spells go that you just get from a dip, it is one of the best you can get. As a bonus action, you get to make yourself immune to damage and kind of abuse battle mechanics this way. It's absolutely worth grabbing. Now, you do have a choice here. You can either go for 1 or 2 levels of Cleric. If you wanted to go for 2 levels of Knowledge Cleric, you would get Knowledge of the Ages. If you wanted to go for 2 levels of War Cleric, you would get the Guided Strike, which would add a +10 to your attack rolls. But this one would let us gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability, so you could be kind of a skill monkey if you wanted to take 2 levels. But if you go to the 11th level of Paladin, you would get Improved Divine Smite, meaning all of your attacks deal an extra 1d8 radiant damage. Unfortunately, though, that does not work with throws. However, it would work with just your regular weapon actions, and the whole point of this build is to use both throwing and close-up fighting. So I am personally going to be just taking the 1 level dip of Cleric here, but if you want Knowledge of the Ages, absolutely take this here with a 2nd level. You're not going to be missing out on a whole bunch, but I do just want to go a little bit further in Paladin than I do Cleric, because that's just my personal choice. Speaking of, let's get back to Paladin. So, I am using a shield with this build, so we're going to want to pick up dueling. This means we're going to get an additional 2 damage with any weapons that we are wielding in one hand, and as long as we have a shield in the other hand, despite the fact that we are wielding a versatile weapon, we will still get that buff. So yeah, absolutely want to pick up dueling here. Pretty sure it applies on thrown weapons. I'm 90% sure people have said that it does in comments on my previous throwing builds, but I can't exactly remember, and I should have probably checked that before I fucking started recording. But here we are, the Hobo's own way is to bullshit your way through it. Now, another part of the Hammers of Moradin is the fact that they are able to imbue their weapons with quote-unquote Bane spells. I have no fucking clue what that means, but I'm just going to say it's kind of a just buff your weapon type deal with kind of magic. So we're going to be picking up our various smites here, that being Searing, Thunderous, and Wrathful smites. But feel free to take whatever you like. I think something like Shield of Faith, Compelled Duel, Heroism, any of these would really work. Divine Favour as well. It's entirely up to you. I think I'm going to go with Compelled Duel because I feel like that is just something like a kind of combat dwarf would do. It's just be like, well, come at me then. What on earth was that voice? You know, I actually do DM my own tabletop campaign. Like, it's like a Call of Cthulhu game, and I have to do all these voices, and they all sound terrible. Let's move on. At Paladin level 3, we're going to be getting our main class feature, that being Divine Health, meaning we can no longer be diseased. Again, does this ever come up in-game? I genuinely have no idea. Please inform me if there's a thing, if there's a something in the game that this actively prevents. Like, please let me know, because I'm curious. I can't think of it. Because we're an Oath of Vengeance Paladin, we're also going to get Abjure Enemy, allowing us to frighten an enemy, and they'll have disadvantage on ability checks, attack rolls, and they cannot move. Awesome. We also gain Vow of Enmity, allowing us to pick an enemy and gain advantage on attack rolls against them for 10 turns, allowing us to beat down a boss with ease. This would be my personal choice for your channel Oath usage. We're also going to be able to get Bane as well, which means we actually are going to be able to use the Bane spell, so we do still get that Bane magic that Moradin Hammers are known for, but probably not in the same way that, you know, the game actually intended. We're also going to be able to grab Hunter's Mark, which is just an extra little thing we can use with our concentration to get a bit more damage. Why not? And as for our extra spell, I'm going to grab Shield of Faith because I want to. Next up, at Paladin level 4, we are going to be able to get our first feat, and you already know what we're getting. It's Tavern Brawler, bumping up our strength to an 18. This is going to allow us to, whenever we throw our weapon, our strength modifier is going to be added twice to the damage and attack rolls, meaning throwing weapons are going to be super, super powerful. At Paladin level 5, we are going to be grabbing our extra attack, which is something we seriously want, but also there are a couple of other things because of our Oath of Vengeance. We are going to be getting Misty Step. This is my way of kind of saying, hey, this is our teleport through Earth, even though it's not really through Earth, but you get the point. So this was the closest thing I could get, and Misty Step is still one of the most useful spells in the game, so we have no reason not to take it. As for our extra spells, you can take whatever you like here. I'm personally going to be grabbing Branding Smite and Heroism, because I want them. There's no other real reason for it. I mean, you could take Magic Weapon, but I don't really want to be maintaining concentration on that over other things. And if you really want the kind of buff that Magic Weapon would get, just get the Drake Throat Glaive and buff your weapon that way, or the Flail of Ages, and just use Elemental Weapon, which is a better version of this, so, you know. Although you can upcast Magic Weapon. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to make a build around Magic Weapon someday, because it is a spell that I'm curious about. I just don't know how to make it good yet, but I will find a way. It would probably be War Cleric, because they get it for free. Anyways, let's keep going. At Paladin level 6... sorry, I actually just... sorry if I paused for a second. I actually just had a brainwave of how to make Magic Weapon work. Future video incoming. I am all over the place. Right, we're also going to be getting our Aura of Protection, meaning that we add our Charisma modifier to the saving throws of any of ourselves and any nearby allies. It's permanent, you don't have to worry about it, it's awesome. Just remember to activate it, because I never do. And for another spell that we get, we might as well grab Aid. I mean, we're not going to be able to cast it with the highest level spell slots, and if we don't have a Cleric in the party, it's just a nice bit of extra health, so everyone can be a bit more tanky. At Paladin level 7, you are going to be getting your subclass feature, which is because we're a Vengeance Paladin, we are getting Relentless Avenger. If you hit an enemy with an opportunity attack, your movement speed is increases by 4.5 meters on your next turn. Helps make up for our stubby little dwarf legs. You know, I actually really like this character design. I think I nailed this one. Maybe not the boots, but the rest of it's good. At Paladin level 8, we are going to be able to get another feat, and I do want to go for an ability score improvement, and I do want to bump our strength to 20. Now, if you don't care about kind of like the character side of things, you could just buff this up to 20 with the Potion of Everlasting Vigor, which, you know, I would personally recommend. That would allow you to bump up something else a bit more if you wanted to focus on another stat. However, if you use the Potion of Everlasting Vigor, that doesn't actually, like, cap your strength. That doesn't actually cap with 20 strength. If you have 20 strength and use that potion, you now have 22 strength, which would make your throw attacks a lot more powerful. So my personal recommendation, just for overkill, would be to go to 20 strength anyway, and still grab the potion to have 22 strength, and just get a ton of damage. I'm actually doing that in my, like, personal playthrough with Private Noodles, and it's been super, super fun. So I would personally recommend giving it a shot. We also do get to prepare extra spells, but I'll get to that when it becomes relevant. At Paladin level 9, we're going to be getting another super important thing that I wanted. Haste. We now have haste as much as we have spell slots. I mean, we could use the Darkfire Shortbow to get it earlier as well, but it is going to be nice to have it multiple times per short rest per day, because the Darkfire Shortbow version only recovers on a long rest. So we might as well get it more times than one. So it's absolutely worth grabbing this here, and this means we are going to be kind of getting up to 4 throws per turn, which is awesome. As for our prepared spells, we can grab a few more, and I just kind of want to reorganize my list here because it's getting a bit messy. First off, let's get all of our weapon skills. We're going to be able to grab Blinding Smite. This is one of the few smite spells that doesn't actually take your concentration, and it has the ability to blind your target, which is a super awesome effect, because blinding in this game means that the target has disadvantage on attack rolls, and the range of attacks and spells is reduced to 3 meters, meaning you can shut down spellcasters, and attack rolls against blinded creatures have advantage. So it's a super, super powerful extra option. We're also going to be grabbing, like I said, Branding Smite, and we'll just pick up the rest of the smites as well. But we also have some extra options. You can get Elemental Weapon here, except I would just recommend sticking to, like I say, the Drake for a Glaive version if you want that. But we can also grab a few other things. I'm personally going to be picking up Warden of Vitality. While this aura lasts, you can cast Restore Vitality as a bonus action to heal yourself or nearby allies. And it restores 2d6, just allowing you to kind of do a little bit of extra healing as a bonus action, which I think is going to work out quite nicely for this build. We're also going to be able to grab things like all of our regular spells that we had before, and I'm personally going to grab Command and maybe Crusader's Mantle as well, a concentration spell that allows you and your allies to do an additional 1 to 4 radiant damage. Or is it just your allies? I have no fucking idea. I don't do my research. I just make builds every day. That sounds worse than it is. I love doing this. At level 10 of Paladin, we are going to be getting an extra Lay on Hands charge, which is awesome. And we're also going to start getting level 3 spell slots. But the main thing we're here for is Aura of Courage. You and nearby allies can't be frightened. This is permanent, and it lasts, and it's within a 3-meter range. One of the main things that the Hammers of Moradin was stated as having on the Forgotten Realms wiki is an Aura of Courage. Apparently it is a big part of their kind of identity, that they are these courageous fighters that bolster those around them. So just getting Aura of Courage makes total sense. So I wanted to go this far into Paladin to get that. And again, we also get to prepare another spell. Take whatever you like. Now, as I said at the start of the video, you can go to Paladin level 11, which I will personally be doing, or you can take that extra level of Cleric if you so desire. But I'm going to be going for the extra level of Paladin here to grab Improved Divine Smite. Melee weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 8 radiant damage. This is not required to be used with your regular Divine Smite. This just applies to every attack you make, except throwing, which sucks. But some other features we have do work with throwing anyway. But this is just a nice extra thing to have if you're up close and personal, and kind of makes up for the fact that we haven't gone for like a Sorcerer Din or maybe even more Cleric levels to get higher level spell slots, as this is going to help buff up our regular attacks as well as our Divine Smites. But maybe there is room for a build here where you play a War Priest, you know, Paladin mix and get a ton of spell slots. I've made a build that does that, and I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Priest of Balance. No, that's not right. That was Spores Druid. Oh, I know I've built a War Cleric Paladin. I cannot remember which one it was. I'll have to look at my channel later. I've made so many builds now that I've actually actively forgotten that some of them exist, which is crazy to me. I never thought I'd be doing this long. We also get another spell. Take whatever you like. Wait, it's fucked up all my spells. God. Flapjacks, damn it. It's messed up all my spells. 1 second. And that is the build. As you can see, we have a lot going on here. I mean, again, we've just built mainly a straight Paladin with a quick dip into Cleric for the extra kind of lore stuff, like the extra kind of theming, and the ability to use Moradin-based dialogue in conversation. But overall, there's nothing wrong with just having a straight build when it works. It is a super fun playstyle. I mean, obviously, everybody loves playing Paladins. I mean, everybody loves playing Sorcerers, but, you know, but it's still nice to be able to just build a straight Paladin and kind of show them off. And you are going to get a lot of things out of this. Like I say, you're going to be getting Misty Step and Haste, which is super, super awesome. The Auras of Protection and Courage, which are going to be awesome for helping protect your allies. And things like your Abjure Enemy and Vow of Enmity are going to allow you to be really take on those powerful opponents with ease. And our Divine Smites are still going to be seriously powerful, dealing up to 57 damage with all of our features together, which is super, super nice. But I mean, just playing a Paladin is one thing. Let's get into the equipment to see how this build becomes a bit more unique and really stays on theme. Here we go. So obviously, let's get the obvious element out the way. We're using the Dwarven Thrower. I've literally used this in a build that I've used, that I made earlier this week, that being the Chaos Warrior, but it's damn good for a reason, and was so on theme. Like, it's basically Moradin's weapon. Like, that's just straight up what it is. Like, when you consider, like, what the hammers of Moradin are capable of with their thrown warhammers, it would make no sense not to take this. So, this has homing weapon, meaning it will return to you when thrown. Awesome. A dwarf throwing this warhammer deals an additional 1d8 bludgeoning damage, and if the target is large, huge, or gargantuan, it becomes 2d8 bludgeoning damage, which is super powerful, and it's a +2 weapon on its own, and it is going to get the benefit from dueling. Super awesome weapon. It is basically, if you are playing a dwarf, you just want to use this weapon. It is so fun. And since we're talking about our weapons as well, let's go into the Shield of Devotion. You get an extra level 1 spell slot. Perfect. That means you get, you know, more, smites. I'm building a paladin. I forgot what smiting is. You also get the standard shield bash, and you also do get the ability to cast aid at level 3, so you're going to be giving everyone 10 healing, 10 extra HP anyway, so maybe you don't really need aid from the spell list, you can just get it from the shield. But let's get into the equipment. First up, we have the Grimskull Helm. I featured this in an earlier build that was also a Paladin, also a Vengeance Paladin. Yeah, my builds have kind of been very samey this week. I apologise. Attackers can't land critical hits against you, you get fire resistance, and you also get the ability to cast Hunter's Mark. You can get this in Act 1. Super, super awesome headpiece, but you can kind of swap this out for anything that you think would work better. Some Act 3 options could be the Helm of Baldur or the Mask of Soul Perception, but I quite like just recommending the Grimskull Helm because it is actually really good. If you're going to be a frontline fighter and you want to be tanky, being immune to crits is actually super good, so you definitely want to pick this up. I've gone for the Cloak of Protection here just because the bonus to our armor class is not exactly unwelcome, and I wanted a red cape to go with this fashion, but you could put whatever you like in this slot. And of course we're going with the Dwarven Splint Mail. This is literally Dwarven armor made by a skilled Dwarven blacksmith. It makes sense that perhaps for the sake of the character lore here, you made this armor yourself. So, you know, there you go. You take 1 less piercing damage, you gain a +1 bonus to saving throws and checks, you take disadvantage on stealth checks, but we're not exactly trying to be sneaky, but you get a +2 to your constitution, meaning that we have a solid 16, meaning that we have a decent chunk of HP. Now, the gloves, you have 2 options, but I kind of wanted to show this off because I haven't in a video yet. These are the Dark Displacement gloves. You gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls when throwing, nice, and may swap positions with the target if they fail a dex save. You also get a slight bonus to sleight of hand, but who cares? This is interesting. I tested this, you'll see it in the combat footage, it goes off a couple of times, and it's weird. You literally just instantaneously, there's not even an animation for it, you just swap places with the enemy. This is actually a really cool glove set and can create a really unique playstyle of being able to very swiftly move around the map, swapping positions with enemies and putting them into danger. Maybe like you throw a hammer at the start of battle, swap places with an enemy, that enemy is now next to all of your allies, and you're able to just go in and start swinging on the rest of the enemies that were nearby. It's kind of fun, but it's probably not the most powerful option. That is going to be the Gloves of Uninhibited Kashigo, which the wearer deals an additional 1d4 damage made with throw attacks and improvised weapons, meaning that we are going to get just more damage out of our throws, so this is probably the more powerful option, but the Dark Displacement gloves can seriously allow for a fun playstyle. When you see the combat footage, I think you'll really like them. And I've gone with the Disintegrating Nightwalkers because they give us Misty Step and are just one of the best boots you can get in Act 1. I know, it's boring, but I couldn't really think of anything else. But honestly, once you get into Act 3, things like the Boots of Persistence would be really good, the Helldusk boots would be really good. Pick your poison here. I just chose these as kind of a baseline option because, again, the teleporting works with the theme, but I would even say that the Helldusk boots, they can also teleport, so they could be worth it. The Boots of Speed, another option for Act 1, could give you a bonus action dash, which could also be super useful. So pick your poison, see what you like. But I personally just went with these, although I think other options may also look better fashion-wise, but this felt like one of the more powerful options to grab. Ironically, they are drow boots, so we can say that you stole these off a drow you killed. You know, because whatever. I've also grabbed the Spellcrux Amulet to give us spell slot restoration, allowing us to restore a spell slot of any level we like once per long rest, meaning you can get one extra level 3 smite, because with our spell slots here, we have 3 level 3 spell slots, 3 level 2 spell slots, and 5 level 1 spell slots thanks to the Shield of Devotion, so you're going to be able to get just that extra high level smite once per long rest. We also have the Ring of Flinging, because of course we do. It adds an extra 1d4 bonus to throw damage, meaning that we're going to get a 2d4 if we're using the Uninhibited Kashigo gloves, meaning our throws are going to do even more damage. And I just kind of slapped on the Ring of Protection here at the end, but really this can be whatever you like. I kind of wanted to get as much AC as possible with this character, since we're doing a heavy armor build, so I thought it would be fun. And we're getting a total of 23 here, which is going to make you super hard to hit, making you a very, very able frontline fighter. That's going to be able to take a lot of hits without worry, and I forgot to get it for this video, but you can just slap the Darkfire Shortbow on here if you want to. So yeah, that is the build. Again, you'll see the combat footage playing now, and you're going to see that this build rocks. I mean, you're doing a big throwing build, which is super, super fun with the Dwarven Thrower, but you're also going to get a ton of benefits like Divine Smites that you can use for close range combat, and just a bunch of other utility spells that are going to be super useful, as well as the ability to kind of, you know, use haste as well and become super, super powerful. Like, it's a standard Paladin build, but for a Deity build, it did just make the most sense when basically the Forgotten Realms wiki just laid out the exact instructions that I needed right in front of me. It was build a Paladin that can use weapon buffs and throw their Warhammer and teleport, and Oath and Vengeance Paladin did all of those things. Now, like I said, if you wanted to mix things up again a bit, throw on those War Cleric levels and get those bonus action attacks as well, you are going to have to manage Wisdom and Charisma, which sucks, as well as still wanting to get high strength because of the throwing damage, so you're going to have to get experimental. But I do see that potentially being a build in the future that I might do, so we shall see. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let's get into some other end of video shtick now, because I have a couple of questions to ask, and I might make a dedicated video about this if I feel like I'm not getting enough kind of, I don't know, information. But there's a couple of things I wanted to go over. Number one, I know most of my viewer base is in the United States, or North America at the least, with some being in the UK and some being in odd places like Australia. Australia's not an odd place. No? Yes, it is. Your animals are weird. What exactly is the best time to, like, upload videos? I've been kind of scheduling my videos to try to, at least if the upload time permits, to go live around 10 PM UK time, which for most US viewers, people should be like home from work about that time, and so it'll kind of appear at the right time. But when do you like usually watch videos? I kind of want to kind of get an idea of when it would be best to kind of upload my newer stuff. But that's kind of a whatever question. Number two, what's y'all's opinion on memes? Why did I say it like that? Because I was kind of surprised. There's a couple of times I've tried to make, like, kind of jokey meme builds, they've not really gone over well. They don't seem to perform as well, which I find interesting. Again, I'm not worried about that, but I thought, like, me making that Walter White video yesterday was going to be like, yeah, and obviously people loved it, the comments were full of memes, but many people did not watch it, despite an acid build being one of my most requested builds, which I found weird. So, would you guys rather that I kind of take a more serious tone with these videos and kind of avoid memes in general, or should I just do whatever feels right to me? It's entirely up to you. And finally, I suppose I should get into my next deity build. I should have come up with this shit before I started talking before I started recording. Hang on, I'm going to open the wiki and decide right now. Again, the Hobo's own way is to bullshit your way through it and just kind of make things up on the spot, and we're literally doing that right now. Oh, what was a build that I really wanted to do? Maybe I should do Laudouger. Basically the opposite of Moradin. You know what? Screw it. That's what I'm doing. Laudouger. Please tell me how to pronounce that before I actually make... Is it pronounced like Dwaegar? Ladwaegar. That's probably how it's spelled. Ladwaegar. We're going to build Ladwaegar. I hope that's how it's spelled. Which is listed here as the Exile. Is a tyrannical patron of the Dwaegar, lawful evil, and the associated domains are Arcana and Death. Ooh, that actually sounds fun. His clerics are the unquestioned rulers of Dwaegar society, enforcing cold and callous behavior among his worshippers. Oh, that sounds fun. Okay, we're doing the Dwaegar next. Absolutely, we'll go for the opposite of this build. Oh, I can see that being really, really fun. Okay. Probably a necrotic build. Oh, maybe open hand monk and Paladin? Like an Oathbreaker. Oh shit, that might be fun. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, leave your suggestions in the comments below. Oh, and another thing. Oh my god, I'm so all over the place. Build requests. I'm obviously still taking them. Nothing is changing there. And I will just say, if you made a build request a long time ago and I haven't gotten to it, I'm so sorry. With the channel blowing up the way that it does, I've kind of just been doing whatever build requests immediately capture my interests at the time. And as such, some older requests have kind of fallen down the back burner and my list has gotten so long. Sometimes I have to go back through comment sections to like find stuff because I forget to write it down. And it's a bit nightmarish. So if I haven't done your build request and I said I would and I've forgotten, I apologize. I am literally just one man. So if you have made a request in the past and I haven't done it yet and it was like a while ago, please feel free to request it multiple times. Don't like go crazy and be like, where's my build, where's my build, where's my build? Just be like, hey, you know, I kind of requested this a while ago, like... And if I don't feel like I'm going to make it into a full video, I will actually just tell you in the comment what I think right there and then, which I've done a few times. Again, I'm one bloke, so please be patient with me. Anyways, that is going to do it for me. I will see you all next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I usually say that the other way around. I'm a bit frazzled.